Today I will rank every Soulsborne and tell you my journey. First of all, I want to warn you, I'm a little bit sick, so my voice might come out a bit raspy, but I'll do my best. I did play other Fromsoft games previously, but just for a bit. I would install them on my computer, and then I would play maybe an hour or two, get my ass kicked, and move on. But in 2019, Sekiro came out, and I remember seeing the trailer. Come on guys, when I saw that, I knew I had to get into it. I love the style, the reviews were excellent. It ended up winning Game of the Year. I played for maybe 2 hours and I got to my first wall, which was the Chain Ogre. I think I fought him for at least 2 hours before winning, and I would take a pause, go back, take a pause, go back. And I almost broke, I almost left. But I did beat him, and after that point, it was done. I played the game 2 weeks straight and I finished it. The last boss was something else, probably the hardest thing I've ever accomplished in my life. 4 hours, it took me maybe a little bit less, 3 hours, 30 minutes. His name is Ishin. And I remember getting to the 3rd and 4th phase many times, but he would always kill me. It's a long boss battle. It requires every movement you learn in the game. And it was brutal. I remember when I finished it, I was shaking, my hands were shaking. But at that point, I knew I had to beat all Fromsoft games. I don't have a lot of footage of me playing the games, so I will take footage from other channels and I will put a link in the description.
We must leave this place, my lord.
After finishing Sekiro, I went on to Dark Souls 3, then Dark Souls 1, then Demon's Souls Remake on PS5, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, and I finished with Dark Souls 2. So I'm gonna rank them in terms of difficulty really quick. I would say Sekiro 5 out of 5. It really, it was my first FromSoft game, and it's a difficult game. There would always have a boss that had an additional phase, and it would always surprise you by how difficult it was. For Dark Souls 3, I'll go with a 3 out of 5. I didn't have any major walls, maybe the Abyss Watchers. It took me a long time. I think I struggled there quite a bit. Oh yeah, the two princes right before the final boss. I think there's a bonfire I missed, but yeah, 3 out of 5, fair. Dark Souls 1, I would give it maybe 2 or 3 out of 5 in difficulty. There were some bosses that pissed me off, but generally, I would progress in the game. I would not waste more than an hour per boss. And yeah, I cleared it pretty fast. Demon's Souls Remake. That's a weird situation. I would rank it 2 out of 5 in terms of difficulty. Strangely enough, though, one boss really kicked my ass and might have been the second most difficult boss in the whole series for me. Flame Lurker. Flame Lurker kicked my ass so bad. So Bloodborne. Bloodborne, I was told, was difficult. It had its moments in terms of level design, but as far as bosses, maybe one optional boss kicked my ass a lot, but I did not find it that difficult, surprisingly. 3 out of 5 seems fair. Elden Ring. I'm gonna surprise some people, but Elden Ring I found difficult. I would rank it 4 out of 5 difficulty. The bosses were brutal. Sometimes I would beat a boss after a long time and I wouldn't feel satisfied because I just felt like I had to try 30 times and for some reason by luck I beat the boss. I did not use Mimic Tears. I did not use magic. I was a strength character and yeah, I found it difficult. And finally, Dark Souls 2. I found it brutal. Certain sections in the game, they felt broken. It just felt so impossible. Iron Keep, I almost quit the game there. I said, fuck it, all the journey, the FromSoft journey, I'm done. And there's the section where you have to traverse sort of a long lake or water section with a lot of enemies that throw magic at you. Controls were the worst too, so it added to the difficulty. But I do consider it one of the hardest Souls game, in my opinion. Alright, on to the good part now. I'm gonna list them from the worst to the best. Let's just say I enjoyed all of these games except one. First on the list, of course, Dark Souls 2. Right from the start, the game felt clunky, the controls felt slow. When you target an enemy in Dark Souls 2, you would keep attacking on a straight line instead of adjusting to the enemy. In all the other Souls game, it doesn't do that. There's a stat in it that makes your rolling more efficient. You get hit less while you're in the rolling animation. I thought it was a cheap move of just adding a stat that nobody cares about. Enemy placement was absolutely all over the place. It felt like the game wasn't tested enough. I'll say it's a big game. There was a good amount of variety. I just didn't care too much for it, sadly. Next on the list, Dark Souls 1. I know I'm gonna get flamed for that, but personally, I think Dark Souls 1 was less enjoyable than Demon Souls. A lot of people refer to Dark Souls as the father of all modern action RPGs. I completely disagree. Dark Souls is so similar to Demon Souls, it got me wondering, is it just because more people played Dark Souls? Some areas felt unfinished. Some bosses, especially one, Bed of Chaos or Bed of Garbage, they just didn't care and just put that part in there. I found it neat that everything connects to the same hub properly, that it all comes back to the Firelink Shrine. But it was way overblown. Like when people talk about it as perfect level design, there are many parts of the game that are broken or felt really empty. Fantastic game, incredible game, but certainly not my favorite. Next, Demon Souls Remake. Of course, I'm a little bit biased because I did play the PlayStation 5 remake and I love the graphics. And I remember when you enter the mine area for the first time on PlayStation 5, it looked so good. The lighting was perfect. It just had this aura of next gen. I really loved the level design in that game, even if it's not all interconnected. The enemy placement felt good. The first half of the game, the bosses were amazing. Yeah, I thought in terms of level design and what it contributed to the whole industry, Demon Souls is absolutely underrated. Oh my god, a lot of people hyped that game for me, and yeah, I understand why. It's a great game. Maybe it's the darkest, the meanest Souls game. I found the level design a little bit confusing sometimes. I found that the environments were a little bit too similar. It was a more focused experience in general, and I feel like it led the way to Sekiro. There were some performance issues too. It lagged a bit, but I did enjoy my time with it. And I think it's the first true modern Fromsoft game. Ooh, top 3, it's coming. Dark Souls 3. I think it's objectively the best traditional Souls game, meaning from Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, 2, 3. The best one, in my opinion, has to be Dark Souls 3. It moves the best, it has good variety, good amount of weapons, good amount of styles. It had everything going for it. There are too many swamps, especially one that felt so sluggish, and I remember I just rolled and tried to break the whole section. But it's the best version of Dark Souls. Sekiro. Sekiro is my number 2. I think my choice would change depending on the day you ask me. It might be their best game. It might just be. It felt so cool to see FromSoft making something about ancestral Japan. They nailed everything about the look and feel of the game. They added some platforming. You could jump. You had your grappling hook. There was some stealth, some legit stealth. It's the most different game they made. The music was good. It's memorable. They were really going for a hard but fair experience. In Sekiro, 95% of the time you die, you know it's your fault. You know you have to go back and just execute better. Sadly, I don't feel like they're gonna do another Sekiro anytime soon. I think they're gonna go back probably to Bloodborne and more Elden Ring or Dark Souls. But I can dream maybe one day we'll get a second Sekiro, and I can only imagine how beautiful and how polished it's gonna be. Here it is, the best, number one, the winner, the elite of the elite, the best of the best, Elden Ring. Regardless of my issues with certain bosses, they created the best open world game in my opinion. It felt like every freaking little part of this game was unique and beautiful and worthy of exploring. Even if it's a random catacomb or mine or whatever, it felt like there might be that special weapon you were looking for. There was a reason to explore. Apart from maybe Breath of the Wild, I've never felt like a location in a game was as real and legit as in Elden Ring. I beat the game 2 times. The first time I went for a dexterity and strength build, quality build. The second time I went for a strength and faith build. Yeah, I noticed that the game was much easier. I understood then why they made it so much harder. I guess you don't have a choice. If you want to make something that has a lot of possibilities, character-wise, you have to up the difficulty. And it's up to you. If you want to keep it old school, you have that option. It felt like it was their vision all along to bring back the early 90s PC RPGs and make them one cohesive universe.
Fresh meat.
It's hard to tell where they're gonna go from there, what's gonna be next. I wish they would alternate between a more linear focused experience and open world games. Of course, there are some issues with the game, which are basically in all Souls games. The NPCs look like absolute cardboard dumbasses.
Ah, you appear to be doing well. Very good.
And you might have noticed during that whole presentation I'm doing here, I don't mention the story that much because I think it needs to be worked on. Sure, you can read about the lore and you can find interesting things in there, but it's not communicated well. Give characters more life, more purpose. They always feel like they're part of the decor, like they're just there as statues. They literally, NPCs in Souls games, they feel like statues. If they can make that a little bit better, then my God, we might have perfection. So guys, did you like hearing me talking about these games? If you did, please mention it in the comments. If you didn't, leave an insult. As of right now, the channel has 0 subscribers, so you can be the first or be the 10th. I do stream on Twitch now. My name is Quick Tom over there, Quick7H0M, and I will be back. Thank you very much, and see you next time.